You know, honestly, there's not much to say there other than that's just a tough break.
This is Sportscentre.
Hey everyone, I'm Jesse Pollock, and it didn't take long for the Stars to steal back home ice. And they did so in stunning fashion, scoring 3 goals in less than 4 minutes in the second, en route to a 5-3 win and a 2-1 series lead. Look, Dallas is a great road team. There's a lot to break down carrying over into Game 4. So let's start on the Dallas side with Jason Robertson. The Stars forward matched his entire playoff goal total in just 1 game, as he had a hat trick and scored the game winner. It might not be a coincidence that his best game of the playoffs came with Rupe Hintz back in the lineup. Hintz has been out since Game 4 against Colorado, and in his last 4 playoff games, he has 7 points. And the Hintz, Seguin, Robertson line created 5 high danger chances, the most of any Dallas line. It's just another reminder of how deep the Stars are. On the Oilers side of things, fans are probably pretty frustrated from another inconsistent performance from Stuart Skinner. After going 4 straight games with allowing 2 or fewer goals, Skinner gave up 4 goals on just 21 shots in Game 3. And it's the 6th time in 13 games that he's allowed 3 or more pucks past him. Look, the guy's been inconsistent between the crease, but one thing that has been consistent is his mustache. That thing's great. Last series, they were in the same situation and went to Calvin Pickard for Game 4. And he arguably saved their season in that Game 4 win. So, should they do the same thing again? I think no. You go back to Skinner. He was very good the previous 4 games, and he had 1 bad game. Give him another shot. There are other places of concern too, though, if you're Edmonton. And the main one is the power play. The Oilers are 0 for 5 in this series with the man advantage and are just 1 for 15 in their last 6 games. That doesn't make sense. That's supposed to be this team's strong suit. The power play was their ultimate advantage early in these playoffs, and it just hasn't been showing up at all recently. And kudos to Dallas too for taking just 5 penalties in 3 games. That's pretty impressive. Another thing we can look at is Connor McDavid's play. Sure, he's been solid, but the expectation for the elite players are always going to be different. And maybe even unreachable, if we're being honest. In his first 7 games this postseason, McDavid put up 17 points, but in his last 8, he's got just 8, and that includes 4 where he's been held off the score sheet entirely. McDavid needs to shoot the puck more. In Game 2, he had just 1 shot on goal in 24 minutes and 29 seconds of ice time. Last game, he scored and had like 6 shots, I'm pretty sure. So keep feeding this guy the puck and keep shooting, Connor. Over to the association, and one half of the NBA Finals is officially set, as Boston knocked off the Pacers last night for the sweep. And here's an absolutely bonkers stat that I kind of touched on yesterday. The Pacers had a 90% or better win probability in the 4th quarter in 3 of the 4 games. How do you get swept in that situation? You should be up 3-1. Yeah, honestly though, like, great series. Still, like, very close. Even in a sweep though, all highly entertaining. I'm a hockey guy, but I have thoroughly enjoyed the basketball of this playoffs. While the Mavs aren't officially in the finals with them yet, we do have an idea what the title odds will be when the matchup happens. Boston are currently minus 220 to win the title, which, not gonna lie, it's kind of crazy, as Luka Doncic is showing throughout these playoffs that he should not be doubted. Luka's the first player in Mavs franchise history with 400 points and 100 assists in a single postseason. That includes Dirk. And with Kyrie, they're the first starting backcourt with 30 points each in 3 games of the postseason in the last 50 years. But before we dive deep into the Celtics and Mavs, Dallas must first get by Minnie, who you've got to imagine will be desperate tonight, down 3-0. Minnesota are 2-point dogs in Dallas with their season on the line, and I think Anthony Edwards is going to go nuclear. Just my hot take. Not hot take at all, but we're now joined by Golden State Warriors forward, NBA champion, and NBA All-Star Andrew Wiggins, who joins us on behalf of Quench Hydration. It was sort of a transition season for Golden State as you were eliminated in the play-in. Give it to me straight, man. Is it tough to watch these playoffs when you're not competing?
For sure. I mean, not tough. It's just like, man, what if we were there? Type of situation. Because I always believe that my team is good enough to play with anybody. But unfortunately we didn't make it. But the playoffs have been good this year. A lot of teams have been, bringing their all, and it's been competitive. It's been a good playoff so far.
Okay, so from what you've seen this postseason, who's a player or a team that's really surprised you?
I feel like no team really surprised me. Dallas is killing it right now. Luka and Kyrie have been, tremendous this whole playoffs, and just leading that team to where they're at now. 1 game away from the NBA Finals has been, pretty crazy. So I'll say Dallas for sure.
Did you think they'd be this good and potentially make a run to the final?
For sure. When you have 2 guys, as talented as Kyrie and Luka, and that good support system they have, good coaching staff, for sure.
Switching to the Olympics, Team Canada medaled at the Worlds last year. Beating our rivals, the Americans, in the bronze medal game, what a feeling. How do you think this translates to the Olympics, and do you think we'll see you on the floor in Paris this summer?
Is a great momentum, translating to the Olympics. They had a great summer last year, a successful summer, and Canada's first time in the Olympics in a long time. But to answer your question, just stay tuned, and we'll see as the summer goes on.
You're smiling and saying stay tuned. It gives me reason to believe that we will see you in Paris, Andrew.
Stay tuned. Right now it's all about Quench, so.
Speaking of Quench, you're joining us on behalf of Quench Hydration. What excites you most about Quench, and what separates it from other sports drinks?
Just the team around it, what it stands for, and it's a healthy drink. I feel like a lot of sports drinks nowadays has a bunch of sugar, a bunch of stuff that it doesn't really need to be in drinks, but Quench has natural ingredients, and it's taken it to a whole nother level.
Finally, we gotta know, what's the best flavor? What am I trying first here, Andrew?
What is my favorite? I like the rainbow one. The rainbow one's, for me, that's fire.
Into rainbows ice cream. Love looking at rainbows. Thanks for your time, Andrew.
Oh, for sure. Thank you.
Let's head down to the espnW Summit at the Brickworks. Takia, this is the second time the espnW Summit has come to Canada. Give us the lay of the land on how things are going down there so far.
Oh my gosh, Jesse, there is obviously so much excitement. We are continuously watching history being made in the landscape of women's sports. You had the PWHL, you have WNBA announcing a team in Toronto, and then you have professional women's soccer on its way. And then the star power, Jesse, not to mention you have former athletes, the women that are leading these leagues. You have Stephanie LeBay, you have Diana Matheson, you have Georgia Summerling, you have Soroya Tinker, just to name a couple.
You just mentioned Toronto getting a WNBA team, which was all the buzz at last year's conference, and now a year later, it's a reality. So what's all the buzz about at this year's conference?
Well, Jesse, I just alluded to it not too long ago. There will be a professional soccer league in Canada, and they're going to be making a very big announcement today. There are 6 founding teams. The 5th team is going to be announced today. We do know the 4 so far, so it's a really exciting day today, and we're going to find out what the soccer league is doing here in Canada.
Unreal, Takia. Well, look, it's my understanding that you have a panel to moderate shortly, so I'm not going to take up too much of your time, but thank you so much. As per usual, fantastic. Love the update.
Thanks so much, Jesse.
It's Tuesday, so time to end the show with our anytime goal scorer bet. And the way this series has started so far with 2 games going to OT, it just kind of feels like this one could go 7. And if it does, Florida needs to bounce back tonight. So we're going with Matthew Tkachuk to score at a real nice number of plus 185. He was great in game 3 with a pair of assists in the loss. But the one thing that I noticed, with the same thing that I mentioned with Connor McDavid in the show, he had 7 shots on goal, which led all Panthers players. So it's a matter of time before this guy puts one in the back of the net. He's due. He scored in game 1 and has gone 2 games scoreless since then. And if we're looking at his career against New York, he averages 0.43 goals per game, which is his 7th highest rate by opponent. And the fact that we're getting a nice number like plus 185, yeah, that's why we're all over it. I think Tkachuk scores tonight. I think the Panthers come back and tie this at 2s. I think the Panthers are going all the way, but that's just my take. That's all we have for today. Our producer Chris Hine just had a monster noise crack telling me that last line. We'll see you tomorrow at 3 p.m. Eastern. Have a good one.